French bashing in the US, and in the same way we saw a lot of American bashing in France. And I think it's a shame because it's lacking perspective or really analyzing what the situation is. And frankly, because we don't agree on the tools to achieve a common goal, you know, it's a shame to be so controversial when the goals are pursued are the same, really.
Thank you. Possible that France can and will play a prominent role in swaying opinions within the EU to go their way.
Yes. Well, in some ways, I answered that. I think, you know, if the 25 members today, since May 1st, don't agree on everything, I guess France and Germany are going to have a leading role, and are going to have surrounding them the majority of countries, or even sometimes a minority of countries, to go forward, and others are going to agree later on, if needed, on a common position.
Thank you. On a personal note, how have your cross-cultural experiences influenced your opinion of the U.S. involvement in the EU?
Well, my personal experience, you know, I think one of the issues here is the fact that, with no doubt, the U.S. are the leading economy, the leading political power in the world, and because of that, that's sometimes provoking some fear. And in the EU, you can feel that somehow, and sometimes in some specific topics. For example, in terms of culture, the US have tendency to consider culture, filmmaking, edition of books as another economic good, like any other. And European nations have a tendency to consider, and France in particular, that what's cultural is specific and needs a specific treatment and needs to be something different. And, you know, that's creating some fears. My personal experience is that the US, for very good reasons and very objective reasons, are very confident about their language, about their culture, about their power, about their economics, and others, members of the European Union or other countries around the world, wants to be more cautious, protecting their language or protecting their culture or their writers, etc., etc. And my personal experience is a very exciting one to see how powerful and how energetic and how positive the U.S. can be. And I'm pleased and lucky enough to live here and to enjoy this situation. But, you know, coming from Europe, I see why, from a European perspective, the U.S. can be perceived as extremely powerful, which is true, and because of that, have some fears. So I think it's a question of dialogue, a question of sharing information, a question of being more confident on a common destiny. And I think that's what's needed across the Atlantic, more sharing of information. That's true in terms of economics, in terms of politics, in terms, of course, of the current issues dealing with terrorism. There is sometimes a fear in both sides, and it's a shame, because, as I said earlier, the goals are really the same ones. So it's a question of developing links of communication.
Thank you.
Trade and relations in terms of trade need to be discussed not only in a bilateral way between US in one hand and France in the other way, but probably in terms of the European Union and US and in the frame of the World Trade Organization. because in terms of relationship, trade is higher than ever between the two countries, France and the US. And in fact, the political problems surrounding Iraq last year didn't affect the quality and the high level of economic trade between the two countries. There's more investments and more links between businessmen into the two countries more than ever, so that was not affected by the difficult relations in terms of politics.
Thank you very much. We've just been speaking with Edouard Mayoral. Did I pronounce it correctly?
That's right, Edouard Mayoral.
Today is July 2nd, 2004.